he was going to let me into his life, no questions asked. It was Jimmy coming to a big decision, probably a decision he'd never made before in his life. He had found a soulmate, so to speak.
You're tearing me apart!
What?
You say one thing, he says another, and everybody changes back again!
The most important thing in Jimmy's life was his craft. It wasn't girls, wasn't cars, it was his craft. And his force was for the future. He was not at all content with what was now. He was always about what could be.
You better give me something fast.
Jimmy had always told me, you can't teach someone to act. You become the character or you don't. It was a clash of old Hollywood, new Hollywood.
Did anyone see you there? Did anyone see your license
What
plate?
about the other boys?
I don't know.
What about the other boys? Do you think they'll go to the police?
I do think that those words that came from Jimmy were really important to him. And I think that on that anvil, a great friendship had been formed.
Hello everyone, I'm Dustin Richardson from the Burbank International Film Festival, and today we begin our interview series, Real Conversations, with our special guest, the one and only Mr. Lew Bracker. Mr. Bracker is the author of Jimmy and Me, a personal memoir of a great friendship, which tells the adventures of Lew and his closest friend, James Dean. It's a very personal narrative filled with touching stories, such as when Lew and James first met, plenty of trips to the movies, and a shared love of cars and racing. It's a magnificent story and one of my favorite books, and I'm very happy to be talking with the author himself today. Hello, Mr. Bracker. Thank you so much for talking with me. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm going to be 94. I feel I'm ahead of the game.
That's good. That's good. Jimmy and Me it's such a joy to read. And I just love the way you wrote it. It really brings the reader on an adventure with you. And I really felt like I was transported back into the 1950s, back in Hollywood, and got to spend time with you both. You're an amazing writer. So I'd like to ask you, for those who haven't read your book, if you could please talk a little bit about this amazing friendship and why Jimmy and Me was written.
It's written in chronological order. I just wrote it the way I lived it, just the thoughts that went into my mind at the time, things that happened, and the conversations I had with Jimmy. Fortunately, I have a sharp memory. For many, many years, 60 years or so, I really never planned on writing the book. I didn't want to write the book. I had tucked away the Jimmy Dean experience deep into a pigeonhole in my mind and took the position, I suppose, as an observer. And when I commented on Jimmy, it was almost like as a dispassionate observer. And my daughters had been after me for years and years. Their favorite thing was, Dad, tell us a Jimmy Dean story. Finally, what happened was in 2012, 2013, Porsche decided to hold a big charity event or be part of a big charity event in Monterey and Carmel, California, at which they would honor 5 Porsche race drivers. I was one of the 5 drivers. It was quite an event, and it so happened that I sat down next to one of the other honorees, and we were talking, and she had she had launched a publishing company. She said, you have a book in you. You really have to write it. And, we talked back and forth. And then she kept after me for 4 days. And my daughters had always wanted me to write a book. Anyway, at the end of that 4 days, I told them, all right, I'll sit down and see what comes out. I didn't expect it to be published. I really was writing it for my girls so they'd have it. And that it's how Jimmy and me got born, really.
I'm so glad that happened. Your daughters must have been really excited when you gave them the book for the first time, huh?
Yeah, and it was very good that I wrote the book because it opened up, I let everything out that I had stored up over all those years, dating back to September 30th, 1955, when Jimmy died. So all of the events and all of the emotions that I remembered just came out. I finally was not carrying that around. I had recognized that I had lived that, and I wasn't an observer. I was a participant. There were a couple of things that unfortunately are not in the book that I remembered, later. The one big important thing that's not in the book, and I don't know how I buried it so deep. I think it was the turning point in our relationship. It was the day that we took Cisco, Jimmy's horse, up to our ranch north of Santa Barbara. On the way back, after we arrived back, 6:00, 6:30 in the evening, as I was getting towards my car to, get in the car and go home, Jimmy stopped me and asked, "Do you like Italian food?" That seems like a very innocuous thing. But for Jimmy, it was a great leap forward, because what he was referring to is, as it turned out, was he was inviting me to the Villa Capri, his hangout, his King's X, if you will, with the world. And he had never did invite anybody else ever to the Villa Capri. And I think that was the moment when he had decided that he was going to let me into his life, or inviting me into his life. No questions asked. At the time, I didn't really think that much about it. I thought he was thanking me for getting Cisco off his hands, but it was Jimmy coming to a big decision, probably a decision he'd never made before in his life, that he had found a soulmate, so to speak. I do think that those words that came from Jimmy were really important to him. He said, "Just, do you like Italian food?" And I think that on that anvil, a great friendship had been formed.
Thank you for watching the Burbank International Film Festival's Real Conversations. Please make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel, and also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And learn everything you need to know about the festival at burbankfilmfest.org. See you next time!